Hello. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2023 UNE M.S.O.T. Adaptive Project Expo. My name is Elizabeth Cramsey, and along with my co-faculty member, Jamie Harmon, thank you. We are so happy that you're able to join us either in person or on the live stream for this event. The OT Adaptive Projects Expo has become one of our signature events as a program to showcase the amazing creativity of our students. Our students meet the needs of children and youth within our community to help them engage in their occupations, including play, education, social participation, rest, sleep, feeding and eating, and the like. The students will be demonstrating their knowledge this afternoon about occupational therapy and explaining the why behind what they made and where it might be going to meet those requests from our community. I welcome the students, their supporters, families and friends, practitioners. A lot of our OT alumni practitioners are here tonight, as well as other stakeholders. Before moving on to our welcoming remarks, I would like to take a brief moment to thank the village that helps this event come to life. First and foremost, our amazing students. We would not be here without you. I'd also like to thank our faculty and professional staff, as well as many departments such as communications, marketing, conference events, conference services, facilities, and Parkhurst, just to name a few. So just a little round of applause for all the people that make this magic happen. And we are so lucky that since his arrival at UNE, President James Herbert has been an avid supporter and very enthusiastic about this event. And it is my pleasure to introduce him at this time.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate it. So, hello, everyone. It is a sincere pleasure to be here, and I mean that. It really is. I'm always so impressed by this event. This event has actually become one of the highlights of the spring here on our Portland campus, and something that I always look forward to. This is OT personifies, in many ways, it really exemplifies what we do at UNE in so many ways. It's an intellectually rigorous field, it's clinically meaningful, it's impactful for folks who need the support. I've personally benefited directly from OT, and I'm a huge fan and just so appreciative of the good work that you do. And one of the things that always amazes me at this event is the level of creativity. As I walk around the tables, I'm just blown away each year at again, the creativity. You work directly with children and you think about a problem, think about a way of coming up with some really creative way of addressing an issue, and it's amazing. So hats off to all of you, and of course to your faculty mentors and your clinical mentors who work with you. For me, this is also very personal. As some of you may know, I'm not sure, my oldest son is autistic, and he benefited. He now lives in a group home. He's very happy, I'm happy to say. He's pretty severely autistic, has lots of functional limitations, but he's only able to live quasi-independently the way he does because of the years of OT that he got. And I think more than any other professionals that he's worked with, speech therapists and PTs and everything else, it really was the OTs who had the biggest impact on his basic ability to function. And so I came to respect, way before I came to UNE, to have a deep respect for OTs, especially OTs working with children and adolescents. And so the work that you guys do is amazing, and I just am so grateful for it. And I appreciate your coming to this noble calling and agreeing to take on this important field and to dedicate yourselves and your lives to this work. So thank you very much. And I really look forward to walking around and seeing more of the projects. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our amazing Dean of the Westbrook College of Health Professions, Dr. Jen Morton. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us here today. It's so impressive. I've had a chance to go down one side, and I'm a nurse by training, and I spent about 28 years in practice, and I always considered my OT colleagues to be probably the most aware of a patient's needs, and as Dr. Herbert said, the most creative. It wasn't until I actually brought some OT students and an OT faculty member to Ghana with me about 10 years ago when I realized they can do anything. I would say that they could jerry-rig a pen into a car. But honestly, it was, they were able to, the team, the faculty member and the students were able to create a device, a harness for a child with an umbilical hernia to keep that umbilical hernia reduced 24/7, and hoping to avoid surgery. And of course, they don't treat it that way anymore these days, but it was amazing to see the creativity in real time. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to work alongside such a talented faculty. Thank you, Liz, for bringing this wonderful expo to fruition every year. It just gets better and better. Thank you, everyone.
So collectively, we welcome you to the expo. We encourage you, along with the students, to learn tonight, to play, and have a little bit of fun. And a very happy OT month to all the OT practitioners and students in the room tonight. Enjoy. Thank you so much. Have fun.
Great job.
Thank you.
Oh my
Have
gosh,
a great
it's so
time.
beautiful.
Enjoy. There's so many things to see
Oh,
and do.
yeah.
My bad. So thank you so much for joining us on the live stream today for the expo. Jamie Harmon and myself are really excited to show you some of the projects in depth and show you what our students' creativity has done. And as a reminder, all of these projects go right back out into the community. So the first project table that we have are just getting set up right now. Danielle and Elizabeth made a fine motor apron for assisted animal supportive intervention. So this is a certified therapy animal who is donning the apron for the very first time. And so it's very common to have animal-assisted therapy. The canines go through some rigorous training along with their handlers, and the idea would be that children who have a difficult time engaging in fine motor task and therapy would be intrigued by this lovely dog and the dog's personality. So I'm going to let Danielle chat with you a little bit more. And
Hi, so this is Brinkley. He is a assisted animal for therapy, and what we have is a fine motor apron for him. The goal is to use him in therapy sessions with children of various ages. So we have different activities like zippers here. That's really useful for fine motor activities, as well as clips and some sensory options for the kiddos. These are all Velcro. And we have a few different options on our table, like handwriting and lacing for Gallant Therapy Services. And Brinkley is a very great boy. Yep. Yep, so we have different buttons of different sizes based on what the child needs. You can undo them. Brinkley, you're doing a great job, bud. And then if we need a little bit more of a challenge, we have different sizes for the buttons. So a little bit bigger ones, smaller ones to work on dressing activities, some sensory things, and then we also have handwriting options as well. Yeah, so that's our apron.
That was our first project, and the second one we did was for Child Developmental Services. And this OT travels between different schools, and she wanted a fine motor board similar to the other thing in terms of those aspects. But since she travels around, she wanted something she could just fold up and bring with her. So we put it on this canvas kind of piece of paper or fabric that we can fold. And it's the same idea with different fine motor activities. We have zippers, Velcro pieces, snaps, buttons. That's basically it. And then each of them have a pocket, because the whole idea is like a find it. So we have puzzle pieces. So at the end, they can kind of have a goal of what they're working towards. But yeah, that's the majority of it, working on different motor skills for, I believe, around preschool aged kids, so about 3 and 4 years old. So yeah, those are the projects we created.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Liz and Danielle, for sharing the projects that are headed to the Child Developmental Services and to Gallant Therapy Services.
All right. Our next project is a VMI Marble Run made by Michaela and Hannah. Do you guys want to take a moment and tell us what you chose for a project and why you chose it?
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah. So we chose a VMI Marble Run. So it stands for Visual Motor Integration. So our whole idea was making something that the outpatient therapy clinic that we are making it for is able to incorporate into their different interventions and into their different therapy plans. So our whole idea with it is being able to track a marble down. That's kind of where we started, and then we were able to add things onto it in order to for them to incorporate other different aspects into it. Do you want to explain how it works?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different moving pieces on here, and it allows for many different skills to be used. So up top we started with the funnel, and there's different ways for fine motor grasping to be used. And as the marbles go down, we're targeting that visual motor tracking. I'll let you watch it. Yeah. And then we have these pieces down here for our grading. So we really wanted to incorporate the visual motor integration. So this is a pointer that the client can use to track the marble as it goes down the board, really incorporating that. And these are our special mission task cards. So they're color-coded for levels of grading, and on the back there's instructions for the task to do for the client.
That's amazing. And I was just curious. So it looks like you've done some very creative use of materials. I believe I might see a fidget spinner. I think I might see some Scrabble hold things or some pieces of trim maybe. And then I'm thinking maybe you had the experience of doing some 3D printing. Can you share a little bit about what your thought process behind the 3D printing and what that experience was like for folks that are watching that maybe have or have not 3D printed in the past?
Yeah, so we initially started with the fidget spinner and kind of developed a different idea in our head of what we wanted to get out of the fidget spinner, and it wasn't something store-bought that we could find, so we used our resources at the Bedford campus at the Makerspace, and Sophia was a huge help down there in bringing our imagination to reality. So we actually 3D printed the funnel piece at the top with the additional track on the back to allow for more of a gross motor drop into the funnel and also more precise landing onto the track. And then these spinners act as a way for the marbles to go through, and the collection cup is actually removable. So if a child is struggling with an aspect of that, they can pick up the whole cup and restart. And there it goes again.
Thank you so much for sharing your project. And we know Gallant Therapy Services will be very excited to receive this and use it for years to come.
Yes.
Thank you.
So our next project, which we'll be chatting with them soon, is from Kayla and Tori, and they have made some weighted options, and they are headed to RSU 5, and I actually see one of our alumni here as well, who is the therapist who requested that item, so we'll try and get Hannah on camera in a second here as well. Hello, Tori and Kayla. We'd love for you to share about your weighted options that you made for RSU 5.
Oh, you want right there too? Oh gosh. Okay, so our weighted items are weighted stuffed animals and weighted blankets and weighted lap pads. So the weights vary between the items. So our stuffed animals here are 1 pound. The lap pads are 2. This smaller blanket is 3, and the blankets on the sides are 4 pounds. So these are going to a UNE alumni who works in the RSU 5 program, and she oversees 5 kindergarten classes. So we did the weighted blankets based on a kindergartner's weight, which is between 40 and 45 pounds. So if you equate that out, it's about 4 pounds, which is what is most effective for kids who have anxiety or need a little bit of extra stimulus.
Or even for children with ADHD, if they're really feeling overwhelmed in that fight or flight response, it can really help them and calm their parasympathetic reaction, really calm that down. And we also decided to do a pattern side for that visual stimuli, or if they wanted more of a plain pattern, we also have that on every option for the blanket and lap pad.
And as we know, kids are messy, so all of the items here are machine washable.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both so much for sharing your weighted items, and I'm sure, as I said, we'll try and catch up with Hannah and see what that will mean for the children and youth at the school that she serves. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Our next project is a compression vest and shoe tying practice board made by Caroline and Cheyenne. If you guys want to tell us a little bit about each of your projects and why you chose them.
Yeah, so I'm Cheyenne. We made a compression vest and a shoe tying board for a therapist because she requested them. We chose these projects because the compression vest helps to relax your body, and I really like weighted blankets, so this was interesting to me. And then we thought that the shoe tying board would be really fun to make as well. So with the compression vest, we have it so you would put this on over your clothes, and there's Velcro so you can slide in here. Yeah. And these are adjustable, so you can decide how much compression you want around your torso. And what this does is it activates the touch receptors, which sends info to your brain and helps to relax you and feel more calm in your body and regulated, which then helps you focus a little better. Yeah, do you want to talk about the shoe tying board? Yeah.
So I'm Caroline, and we made this shoe tying board to help a kid learn how to tie his shoes and hopefully increase his independence in his typical daily routine and in other activities he enjoys. He said that his favorite colors were red and blue, so we want to incorporate that. And so the shoes are removable, and you can attach them with Velcro. And then on the back, we have a reward system so that every time that they get the shoe tying correct, they can add a sticker to the back. And we had little instructions to go along with it and better explain our quote on the front.
Wonderful. So one of the things that I was drawn to was, why did you make the shoes that specific way, beyond the colors? What did you think about having them removable, and why did you all choose to do that?
So when I was looking on Pinterest, I noticed that a lot of the shoes were flat, not three-dimensional. So we thought that this would be a better way to make it more fun and engaging, and also allow the kid to work on his right and left discrimination. Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing both your private practice and your CDS projects with us tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and our next set of projects is made by Izzy, Emma, and Katie. They created a sensory texture board and a motor brake binder with cards. If you guys want to take a minute and explain your project to us and why you chose it.
So our sensory board over here is for Gallant Therapy Services. We wanted to make something that was very visually engaging for children that helped encourage imaginative play and creativity while incorporating a bunch of tactile textures in order to help regulate sensory systems. We have some occupational therapy involved in there with crossing the midline, some fine motor skills that are needed with the fidget spinner and the sequin fabric. And it helps to expose children to textures they may experience at home, such as the carpet and the sponges, for if they're sensory sensitive, to help get that tolerance up.
Yeah, so for example, we have some smooth textures here and some smooth textures over here. And then we have a variety of rough and then soft, and then they could use their fine motor skills to bend these and manipulate them in a variety of different ways.
And then here we have our motor brake binder, which is going to Mabel I. Wilson School. So it's going to be based in the classrooms where they can take gross motor breaks in between lessons or activities. So we have a variety of quick exercises with no equipment. Everything requires no equipment. So we have some lunges, some different games they can use, a lot of different singing activities. And so they can choose by how lengthy they want to spend, how much time they want to spend on them.
So I thought it was really intriguing that you put together so many great motor activity ideas that don't require a lot of equipment, because a lot of therapists are on the go. It's what they can carry on their back or have it at their hands. So it's really nice to have this all in one place, and you clearly put a lot of thought behind this. So I'm sure M.S.O.T 51 will be very excited, and Gallant Therapy will be really excited with their new tactile board. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, hi. Next, we have a communication board that's going to be going to the Story Smith Pediatric Clinic. If you guys want to take a minute, explain your project, your board, and why you chose what you did for the board, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you. So, yes, as Jamie was saying, we created several communication boards for the Story Smith Pediatric Clinic. They have occupational therapists, physical therapists, and also speech-language pathologists working there. And they serve a lot of clients with communication challenges. So many of whom are on the autism spectrum and some of whom are nonverbal. So we created this communication board that's very adaptable. It allows the kids to express their feelings, also to express their wants and needs in a general status, kind of to express their likes and dislikes, but also in regard to the therapy session. And kind of empowering them to make their own choices and really assist with self-expression. Would you like to explain some more?
Yeah, so for example, first of all, everything's on Velcro, everything's super adaptable, so someone could be using it as simple as pointing to an activity they want to do, pointing to a feeling that they're feeling, or it can be more complex, so choosing phrases from our word bank and bringing them up to our little sentence structure area here. So here, for example, they could choose first, they'd like to do the platform swing, then they'd like to calm down in the calm down corner tent. And they've just made a sentence and they've just expressed what they want to do in the session without needing to verbally express themselves, which can be very hard for certain clients.
And so then next we made some bathroom signs. One is for physically using the bathroom, and then the other one is for hand washing. Some children, especially children with autism, have difficulty with sequencing. So this promotes independence, so they don't need someone in the room with them. They're able to go through the steps that are needed to complete those tasks independently. And then next, all therapists are going to be given a zones of regulation board. And so we chose real pictures of children feeling these emotions in each section. The real children are easier to relate to versus like an animation. After they choose what zone they're in, on the back it has regulating or coping activities to bring them back to our green zone, which green is good. All right. And that's all. Thank you. Sorry.
Of course. No, you're great. So I know that Jamie Kisa will be very excited to have this at their new clinic in Falmouth now. It was in Cumberland. I know this is headed for her waiting room and obviously some of her restroom. And a lot of people don't know all the ADLs and occupations that occupational therapists engage with, and hand hygiene and toileting, as well as communication and play and self-regulation are definitely in the realm of occupational therapy. So thank you so much for sharing your projects with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're fine.
So the next project that we'll be stopping at is Bella and Taylor, and they've made both a dressing board, which they actually turned into aprons, which I'll share with you shortly, as well as some very specific sensory bins. And they made this for Falmouth Elementary School for one of our UNE M.S.O.T alumni who requested these items. So Taylor and Bella will now tell you about their projects.
So we made these dressing aprons for Falmouth schools for grades kindergarten through 3rd, and we had the request to kind of have an experience where the students could practice the daily tasks of like dressing. So we have different fine motor skills like zippers, we have some snapping buttons, we also have a buckle. We have 2 smaller pockets and then a larger zipper that they have to thread at the end, which was also a request because that seems to be a tricky task. And then over here we have some large buttons to practice buttoning, and then we also have some medium-sized buttons, and then down here we have small buttons that kind of represent a pair of jeans, which can be also tricky with the thicker material. and then another buckle and practicing shoe tying right there.
And then next we have the sensory bins. So we were tasked with 3 different themes for the sensory bins, and we wanted to ensure that we provided different sensory experiences with each of them. So for here, the tactile experience is gravel and some Orbeez. Here we have rice, and then in this one we have rocks, beads, Legos, some paper straw, and then within all the materials kind of have a different feeling. For example, we have the harder ball here, but that comes with Play-Doh. We have a soft ball, and then our task was kind of working with children on their visual perceptual skills, so we created games to go along with each bin. If Jamie would hold it. We have this, so you have to find the 4 creepers, and that's just looking for these little objects which can kind of blend into this, but using this, we have the visual aid to see what it looks like, and then looking for this within just kind of connects what the eyes are seeing with the brain, and that's kind of just what we were focusing on. Okay, thanks.
So what were the things that you were thinking about as you were putting together the sensory bins in terms of the textures and the materials that you thought about using? Can you talk a little bit about your thought process?
So for the different themes, we had a request based on the popularity of what the students at the OT works with. So we wanted to make sure that the more themes that the students like, the more they're going to want to be motivated to engage in the bins. And then we have the different types of materials. So in here we have the water beads, which can be like kind of sticky and not everybody likes that. And then we have also like the hard rock. So the student can kind of play more on this side if they like this sensory feeling more than that one. Anything else to add?
And with that, there's also different feelings, such as a spiky ball. There's these squeezy toys, and that kind of goes along with these. So here we have the squeezy toys. We have this, which is kind of that hearing, auditory sound, that auditory sensation that's facilitated. And then along with that, just other fidget toys that kind of, if they're sitting there and they want to play, they have the option to play with this, or they have the option to play within the bin. And yeah.
Wonderful, and I know one thing that therapists will really appreciate is the portability of these projects that you made, both with the apron, which is really easy to carry, and also great because they can wear it so it mimics the right direction, as well as bins that have tops on them that can easily be stored is really, really important when you're a therapist on the move. So thank you so much for sharing your projects.
All right, our next project is a pictorial cookbook made by Caitlin, Kaylee, and Yasmin. And I think they have a nice interactive activity for anybody that's here today to join in on.
And luckily, President Herbert's here, so would you like to make some trail mix?
So here's the thing. Can I just summarize what I've learned really quickly?
Absolutely.
So one of the things that's really cool is that depending upon, it's sort of tailored green, yellow, red, depending upon the skill level and level of independence of the person they're working with. And what they just advised me, so green is unsupervised, yellow, a little bit of supervision, red, do at your own risk because sharp objects involved. So they're telling me I should avoid red because I might hurt myself.
Play it safe,
so
that's
basically.
good.
No, this
Safety
is
first.
awesome. This is really cool, really creative. So.
Thank you so much. So we'd love to hear about your interactive activity. And since I believe my counterpart Jamie is on the sides of the beginning, I will hand you a microphone and you can tell us about your projects.
Yeah, so we did an adapted cookbook for Galant Therapy Services. We did a pictorial cookbook. It's called Picture This. Within this cookbook, we have a table of contents that just says which page is for which recipes, and then we also have a mission and vision statement on this side. Like President Herbert was saying, we do have recipes that are classified as green, yellow, and red. We do, like he was saying, green doesn't require supervision, but supervision is always necessary if a parent or a child needs it. And then, so each recipe has sensory considerations for children because all children are different and unique in their own way. We also have tools and ingredients for each recipe with check boxes on the side that as you go through each recipe, you can check off which tools, which ingredients you have, and as you complete each step, you can just check it off just as a reminder and a tool to follow. We also have these visual cues and visual prompts that can be removed from this binder and taken to the kitchen for kids while cooking. And then each recipe is in a plastic sleeve, so it can be removed from the binder. And as the kids are doing a recipe, they can take it with them to the kitchen, and it's easier for them to carry.
Great. Yasmin, anything you'd like to add?
Sure. It's really exciting, but we wanted to definitely make this tailored towards kids. For example, our recipe here is a jungle safari. It kind of adds some animals and fun elements. We just wanted to make it very engaging so that kids will want to take part of it. And yeah, that's about all I wanted to say. Kaylee, did you want to add anything?
I mean, I think you guys did a really good job at like summing up everything that we kind of wanted to like take away from this. We did try to like put a little bit of variety in our recipes so that we had some like simpler recipes with simple flavors for like maybe kids who aren't seeking like all of that like sensory input. So one of ours was like a snowman quesadilla that you make in the microwave, and it's very soft so that there's no crunch to it. There's not a lot of flavor. But then we also tried to do things like kimchi fried rice to add a little bit of like spice or like maybe something with more crunch to it so that you had like different textures. And as Caitlin touched on, we kind of put that right on the cover page of each of the recipes so that like when you open it up, you know, like this is going to be soft, stringy, crunchy, spicy, so that you could just think of all of those things beforehand.
I really appreciate how thoughtful the pictures are and how engaging they are. I really want a soft snowman quesadilla just because it looks like so much fun. So taking a task that could be potentially difficult for a lot of different reasons and making it child-friendly is going to really help the children at Gallant Therapy Services. And we hope everybody enjoys their trail mix tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna have to sneak in here. So here we have a fine motor busy board geared towards ages 2 to 4, and we'll have one of the students talk about them when they get a chance. Let's see. Janie, are you ready? Want to tell us what your project is and why you chose it?
Yeah, so our project is a fine motor busy board for ages 2 to 4. We made it for Gallant Therapy, and basically it's just working on some different grasp patterns and different in-hand manipulation skills that are starting to emerge at this age. And we included some functional tasks as well as some fun games for them to practice these. So as you can see, we have some of the games here. We have some things for them to practice writing, different buttoning tasks, some different locks and things for them to use. And then we also wanted to work on some problem-solving skills. So we have some games as a part of it. Like these are magnets, but they don't all stick. Some of them repel, so they need to find out where they go. And then we made 2 of them. So some of them have different parts. Care is over. We have some different containers for them to try opening. That one includes a zipper for them to practice those skills. And then we also have some pull-off pieces like the different Velcro starfish and the magnets for them to practice hand strength and that motor planning of how much strength they need to use for something.
Great, I have a question. Were you specifically given any of these activities, or did you come up with all the different activities on your own?
We got like what the old board that they used to have, and it just had like one lock and one like pipe for the balls to go through. So we just got creative and just added kind of anything that we wanted and thought the kids would enjoy.
I love your under the water theme. It's very creative.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make it themed. The last one didn't have much color on it, so we wanted to make it inviting and something that kids would actually want to play with and practice those skills on.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your project with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have some interactive sensory books made by Bailey, Caitlin, and Sierra. We also have an adaptive playing cards board. They can give you a little bit more information about the specific school and students that they made this for and why they chose this project.
Okay, hi. So over here we have the adaptive sensory books. We chose some books that focus on social emotional learning and just building relationships and friendships. So we have the rainbow fish here that we adapted and just like add different elements to it and all these different aspects, and like these come off and on and you can move them around, as well as the Lambaroo, which is a really fun time to adapt, and we just add different aspects like that. And then we also have these 3 books over here, which are I'm respectful, I'm empowered, and I'm confident.
And then we have an adapted game board. It's for a blind student, and it's specifically made for one student, and one of her goals is working on leisure activities. So we want to create something that would be adapted, where she can have the card holders that attach as well, so she doesn't have to hold cards that are brailled, as well as keep all the pieces inside with these edges that we made.
Along with that leisure goal, she's also working on tactile discrimination. So we included all the different sensory components, so she has to feel her way around the board. And then she can play this game with other friends too, because they can play it as well.
Thanks.
So I'm jumping back in, and I might have missed this, but I heard a rumor that you might have actually gotten to meet the client. So tell us a little bit about what that experience was like for you to connect to the actual client that has this adapted board and board game.
I think that actually meeting the client made it a much more real, like really exciting to work on. She is adorable. She was so grateful. She's so excited about this project. Yeah, she was great.
To put the face to the project that it's going to, it just like made it really impactful and like really excited to work on something like so incredible for her.
Yeah, it just made it more personal. So we were really excited to make it like as best we could.
It gets you ready for the real world when you have clients of your own and you're really motivated to make the projects the best you can and the therapy the best you can for the client. So.
And I know firsthand how much the therapist, who's an alumni from our program, will be using this with the client, and she always is a big supporter of this event as well. So thank you so much for sharing your projects with us.
Thank you. All right, so next we have some weighted lap objects, some nice fuzzy animals that were made. I'll wait till they're ready. But we've got all different colors, textures, and scents, I believe, inside of the animals. So I'll let them introduce themselves as well as talk about their project.
So hi, I'm Nadia.
I'm Emily.
I'm Lauren.
So we decided to make some weighted lap objects for the students over at the Mabel I. Wilson School. When talking to their occupational therapist at the school and trying to figure out what to make, we came across stuffed animals, and then the dinosaurs and the sharks are because they're the preferred animal of these children.
We also added a sensory piece, so you can probably smell them. We have lavender, and then I think this one's eucalyptus. And we just wanted to add that for an extra olfactory sense.
Yeah, so all of these are what we use to weight them, and they can also be heated for an extra comfort for that.
And they range from 2 to 5 pounds. So this one's definitely the heaviest.
So my question for your team is, how did you determine how much weight to use and how big to make or small to make your animals? Did you have guidance from the therapist or find some information on your own about sort of guidelines around that?
So the initial request from the therapist was about 5 pounds, but then when making them, we noticed that it wasn't feasible for some of the objects to add that component. So we talked to them, and then we ranged from that 2 to 5, because we also learned that weighted objects shouldn't really be about more than 10% of a child's body weight. So we want to add that variety for like a smaller child versus some of the older and bigger children.
I know that's a question that we often hear from the real world, is how much weight and how do I know how much should be in my weighted blanket, or the child's so many pounds and whatnot. So I'm glad you had some great guidance, and it's great to see so many wonderful animals. I would like a couple of these dinosaurs for myself at home, I think. Of course.
Thank you. All right, Keegan is next. Keegan made some table and chair fidget attachments, and so we'll let her introduce herself and explain her project and why she chose it.
Hello, so I'm Keegan, and these are some table and chair fidget attachments. This one's actually going to go on a wall in a 6th grade classroom that can be attached using Velcro on the back or whatever the teacher is wanting to do. And then these front ones are going to an outpatient pediatric OT clinic that can be attached to the top of their tables using Velcro. It could be attached on the side of their desk or their chair, or it could also go underneath depending on if they need that visual input as well as the auditory or tactile input. I really decided to do this because I love fidgets and I love having something in my hand that helps me like redirect my attention and concentrate on whatever I'm doing. It can also help re-regulate kids if they have like a dysregulated day and give them that sensory input that some kids really need. So depending on the fidgets that they're choosing, like this one makes noises while they play with it. So if they need that specific auditory input, it's really important. Some of these are more simple, like this one. If they just need that very like minimal tactile input, that one's really important for them, and it gives that visual aspect if that's what they want as well. I also have some handheld fidget attachments in here that they can move the beads around on that one. I have some like sensory, like these have marbles in them that they can move back and forth, a bunch of different textures. So it's just really important that if those kids need that sensory input, they're able to have a choice in what they do and being able to pick whatever kind of input they need, how much of it. It's also important to like know the kid and kind of have that like just right challenge, making sure that you're getting what those kids need. Because if you give them too much of an input, then it can become a complete distraction for them. So it's really important to make sure that you find out what the kids need and you're not giving them something that's going to pose as more of a distraction than an actual helper.
So that's one of the really interesting things about fidgets is they can get kind of a bad rap because they can be very disruptive. So can you talk even a little bit more about kind of the smaller objects and the thought process behind that?
So one thing I thought about doing, especially with more of these cloth ones, is that they don't make any noise. So if one kid does need it, it's not going to distract any of the other kids in the classroom. And it's something that they can just have in their hand. Other kids may not notice it, and it's not going to be a huge distraction for others. Where if they aren't in a room with a bunch of other kids, then they can use something that makes a little bit more noise. So it kind of just fits the needs of, because this is going into an outpatient clinic and this one's going into a classroom, none of these really make a lot of noise, so it's really important to make sure that if a kid is in the corner playing with any of these and touching any of these textures, it's not going to be a distraction to any other kids in the classroom.
Thank you so much. I know it's going to make a big difference for both the classroom and the clinic. Yes, we're excited too.
Thanks, Keegan. Hi, Sarah. Sarah has made an adaptive independent cookbook, I believe to increase some independence for Jack. So we'll let Sarah tell us a little bit more about her project.
So Jack is my younger brother. He is 18 years old and has a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism. So I decided to create a cookbook based on his needs and the meals that he eats every day. So I made this recipe book, and I have all the ingredients that he needs throughout in a grocery list to help him with some sequencing. I also have created it in a checkbox format so he is able to check them off as he goes through. And I made breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I also created this because in the past he has been given some adapted cookbooks, but they weren't tailored to his specific needs and challenges. So I decided to create this one and adapt it completely to him and what he has tools and resources for at home.
Great. I love that you included, I believe you included some of the pictures are the actual dishes, like the bowl and the spoon that he uses so that he's able to recognize that equipment and really feel like he can relate to what he's seeing in the cookbook. He feels like it's for him, which I think is really neat. Can you explain a little bit about your poster that you created?
Yeah, so I created a poster and I kind of did a roadmap to autonomy. So a roadmap kind of his independence and his road to get there. And I added some roadblocks to autonomy that he's had. And I included that with the previous cookbooks that he's had that haven't been adapted to his personal needs. and food items that he enjoys. And I also added another roadblock of overstimulation in the grocery store, which the grocery list I have included in my cookbook will hopefully help with.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing with us.
Thank you.
All right. And last but certainly not least, our vertical play surface and fine motor activity kits. If you guys want to each introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your project and why you chose it.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Adrian.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Kira.
So first we'll start with the vertical play surface. So we did this project for a teacher in an elementary school for a special education classroom. And she really just wanted a interactive kind of tool and toy that her kids could play with a little something for everyone. And you'll see on this board that there really is something for everyone. There's stuff to poke and press and build and basketball to shoot with. But yeah, she said that her kids are very goal-oriented and game-oriented, so we really just wanted to bring that to life on this board. Yeah.
And we have another side.
Yep, and if you want to come around the back.
Okay, so this is our magnetic side. It's very interchangeable. We wanted to make stuff that they could build and they could figure out themselves. So we added some roads, we added some people, a couple cars they could go on, use. And then we also added this marble run. Let's test it out. There you go. And then at the bottom, if you just want to kind of hang out and look around, we added some like I Spy stuff, just numbers, finding stuff.
And then this is our favorite part of it. We'll send the marble down.
Nice.
There we go.
And then each piece on this board, we have like multiple pieces. They're just not laid out. So we have a lot more roads, a lot more like houses to put up, as well as the marble run comes with a bunch of different pieces. So kids can really create and really think outside the box and build their own. And then the I Spies that we have here are also have multiple different pictures that we have. We just didn't set them all out. But and then we'll move over to the fine
motor kits. Okay. So these fine motor kits are going to a special education classroom for kindergarten and first grade. They're supposed to be education-based, but also fun and interactive. So there's 3 different fine motor kits, but there's a big mix of what they can do. So we have some shoe tying, and then we have the full alphabet with all these letters, and they set up the buttons and work on little fine motor skills, but also working on their letters. And then here they have number lines. So there's paper clips, and then they just connect the paper clips together and work on counting and fine motor skills. We have a fun little bunny. You squeeze, and then they hit the target. And then sorting beads by either shape or color in the rice. And then there's some beading, and then
we have some sorting of pom-poms. As you can see, one of the kiddos came and sorted some of the pom-poms already. But this one's to use this little scissors tool and kind of do it themselves and really get that fine motor action in. And then we have another little fishing game that is also a fine motor activity. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for sharing your amazing projects and all the thought that went into them. So we are at our very last table, surprisingly, and hopefully this has been very helpful for you all on the live stream. We want to remind you that every year in January, we put out our wish list request to the community of practice for occupational therapy practitioners in Maine. So please be in touch if you have a project that you think our students could potentially help you out with. This is my favorite OT night ever because I love the community feel and giving back to our community that's so supportive of us and our students. I don't know if you had anything to add, Jamie?
Yeah, so we'll create the list starting now. If anyone's interested, feel free to reach out. We're happy to get a list started for next year. But thank you so much for coming, attending, watching the live stream. We hope you enjoyed your time with us tonight. And we'll see you next year.